Section 2 of Orpheus with his Lute by W.M.L. Hutchinson. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. The Dawn of the World. Orpheus, as I have said already, did not tell the 9 sisters quite so much of his story as has been set down here, but he told them as much as he knew himself, and as for the rest, that is to say, the beauty of his singing and the way in which it had wrought upon the woodman, it was as plain to them as though they had been by while he sang, and how this could be will presently appear. The last thing he told them was his rushing away, he cared not whither, from the sight of his father's bowed head, believing that even he had turned from him and loved him no longer, and at the thought of that the child wept afresh. Then the lady who had first spoken to him drew him closer to her and said, looking full into his eyes, "Will you trust me, my child, if I say to you that I know what grieved your father, and it was nothing you have done, nor did he turn from you wittingly, but his mind was far away when you saw his gaze fixed upon you? More I cannot tell you, for the time is not yet come when you will understand all the truth." Orpheus looked earnestly into her great clear eyes, and a weight seemed lifted from his heart. "Gracious lady," he said, "indeed I will trust you, for something tells me you are my friend, though I have never seen you before." "Are you so sure of that?" said the lady, smiling. "Look at me again." Orpheus did so, and "Oh," he cried, "it was your face I saw when I drank out of this well before I fell asleep." "Then you must have seen it before," said the lady, "for this is the well of memory, and when anyone drinks of it, it shows him something he remembers, though he may not know he remembers it." "It is all so strange here," said Orpheus slowly, "that I am hardly sure if I am awake or dreaming, but now I do feel that I have seen you, long ago when I was very little. May I not ask, lady, when it was, and who you are?" "I am called Calliope," she said, "and this much I will tell you, that you have no nearer or dearer friend than I am. Once, years ago, you did see me, and I have often been with you when you saw me not, and you have heard my voice in many a dream. But you are not dreaming now, little Orpheus. Come, are you not weary still and hungry? We have better fare for you here than the wild raspberries that you found while you were wandering hither." So saying, she arose, stepped to the nearest tree, and from a hollow within it drew forth a piece of honeycomb, brimful of amber honey. Another of the sisters, taking up a hollow wand of fennel, sank it deep into the yielding sward, and lo, a jet of warm white milk sprouted therefrom, which a third sister caught in a golden bowl. Calliope mingled honey and milk together, and cast the seeds of a certain flower into the posset, and gave it to the wondering child. He drank and was refreshed, and all weariness passed away from him. Then these fairy ladies began to speak to him again of the desire he had to become a minstrel, and he told them sadly that he saw it could never be. He knew nothing. How should he, of a real minstrel's lore, tales of the mighty deeds of gods and heroes? These alone were what men cared to hear, and there was no one in the forest who could teach them to him. No, he would sing no more, except to trees and flowers, for they, perhaps, could understand his singing. But to his own kind it was plainly a foolish and a hateful thing. "Child," said Calliope, "what if were granted you to find teachers in secret, singers who have heard like you the music of winds and waters, but have heard also the music made in heaven by bright Apollo's lute, and are wise with all the wisdom of that golden-haired god, who is both minstrel and seer? What if they, who know the number of the ocean sands and of the forest leaves, and all things that have been, and are to come, should give you so much of their knowledge as it is lawful for a mortal to enjoy? Your look tells me that you guess of whom I speak. Yes, it is we, my sisters and I, who can do this for you if you desire it." "I desire it with my whole heart," said Orpheus, his voice trembling with awe and wonder. "Nay," said Calliope, "hear me a moment yet. A choice is set before you this night, for you are come to the parting of two ways. It is in our power to blot from your remembrance all that has passed since you heard the minstrel in the village, and make others forget also that you sang to them as you did. So one way you may take is to return home and live the life of other woodmen until you grow like them, and the desire of knowledge and of song is dead in you. Ah, you shrink, Orpheus, but I promise you this, along that road lies happiness, a quiet mind, and length of days. Will you not follow it, dear child?" "Tell me of the other road," answered Orpheus. "If you choose it," went on Calliope in a sadder tone, "it will indeed lead you to your heart's desire. But though it looks all sunshine to you now, you must pass through a dark, chill valley to your journey's end. It is the way of knowledge, and where knowledge is, there must sorrow be also. Think a while which you will choose. You may live peaceful and contented on your own loved hillside, a simple woodman like your father before you, until death takes you gently at last in a green old age. Or, by our aid, you may become a greater minstrel than the world has ever seen, and win yourself an unfading crown. Yet it shall be bought with your tears, and you shall wear it on earth but a brief while." "I have chosen," cried Orpheus eagerly. "Do not chide me for haste, wisest lady, for were I to think a whole year, I know I should choose at any cost to be the greatest minstrel in the world. There is only one thing," he added doubtfully. "If I choose that, may I still go home to my father? Because, if I may not, I must give it up. I could not bear to leave him all alone, grieving and thinking I have come to harm." "Fear not for that," said Calliope. "You shall be with him by next noontide. Only we lay this charge upon you, that you tell him neither where you have been, nor with whom you have spoken. He will not question you, for a messenger has set his mind at rest about your absence." Then Orpheus said again that he had made his choice to become a minstrel, and at that the other sisters smiled on him more sweetly than ever, but he heard Calliope sigh. Yet she said no word more, then or after, against his choice, for it is the way of immortals, when they offer their gifts to men, to warn them once, and once only, what may come of taking those gifts. So, in another moment, she too gave him a radiant smile, and it was even blithely that she spoke to one of her sisters. "Thalia," she said, "this is our fosterling and pupil henceforward. How shall we begin to teach him the things a minstrel must know?" Thalia answered only with a laugh, but she beckoned Orpheus to her side. He thought that amongst these lovely ladies she was the loveliest, with her mirthful face and black eyes, whose sidelong glance seemed half mocking, half caressing. She shook her head as he stood looking at her, kissed him on his curls, and laughed again. "No, no," she said, "you will not think me the fairest by and by. Calliope asks me what we shall teach you first. Now I love laughter so well that I would fain teach you to be merry and put away grave thoughts, but I read in your face that you will never be servant of mine. I think," she added, turning to another of the 9, "that you, Melpomene, should know better than I what lessons befit this demure young scholar." "My lessons," answered Melpomene in slow, deep tones, "are not for a child to learn." Orpheus looked at the speaker with surprise, for he saw that while all the sisters were much alike in form and countenance, she resembled Thalia so singularly that these two seemed to be twins. Only Melpomene's face was the saddest he had ever seen, and in her eyes, black like Thalia's, dwelt a somber fire. He now noticed also that these two carried each a waxen mask, slung by a ribbon from her girdle, not of the grotesque sort he had seen mummers wear at vintage time, but delicately molded in the semblance of a woman's face. You would have said that Thalia's mask was the portrait of herself, and the other of Melpomene, if her calm visage could ever be touched with mortal anguish. Then spoke a lady who held in one hand a wreath of golden olive leaves, and in the other a bough of laurel. "Come hither, Orpheus," she said, "and you sisters listen to me, who am the eldest among you. In the years to come, each one of us will give this boy somewhat of the lore that is her own, but while he is yet a child, let us all unite to store his mind with the knowledge of marvelous and pleasant tales. For not without reason do men delight to honor the singer, from whom they learn the wondrous ways of the immortals, and high deeds done in the ancient ages, that but for the power of song must perish from remembrance." "Begin then, Clio," answered Calliope. "There are yet some hours to sunrise, when Orpheus must leave us for a while. Let him hear first some tale from you, who are mistress and queen of all bards that rehearse the glories of gods and men. Afterwards, on the night of every full moon, he shall meet us here, until each of us in turn has told him a story. So shall he learn much that the folk he dwells among will be fain to hear of when he sings to them again." "Be it as you will, sister," said Clio, "but let me first ask him of what he most desires to hear, for you know that we can each tell best the story that pleases us most." She paused and turned her shining, expectant gaze on Orpheus. "I think," he said timidly, "I should like most of all to hear how the world began." "That," said Clio, "is a story Urania can best tell you," and taking him by the hand, she placed him at the feet of a fair-haired sister who sat a little apart, lost in thought, with eyes fixed upon the sky. Urania wore a sapphire-colored mantle flowing from her shoulders, inwrought with silver stars, and there were stars also, but these seemed to be real stars, twinkling among the violets that bound her hair. Her eyes were bluer than the mantle and brighter than the stars. Her face was neither mournful nor joyous, but calm and cold, like the face of a marble statue. Orpheus no sooner looked on it than he thought, "This is the queen of them all, and the fairest," and he wondered suddenly if those beautiful lips never smiled. Urania seemed to read his thought. "Some day," she said to him in a voice of heavenly sweetness, "some day you will sing me the song I wait for, the perfect song, and then you will see me smile. But tonight it is yours to hear and mine to speak. Listen now to the story of how the world began." And thus she told the tale. Once there was no sun, no moon or stars, no mountains, seas, or rivers, no bright company of immortal gods, none of the things that seem as if they had been always there, except one thing. That was earth. But even earth had not always been. There is an eternal spirit without beginning and without end, who is called by many names, but his oldest name is Eros, that is, love, and he, before time began, created earth out of chaos. Do not ask me what chaos is, for it is not anything. Just think what there is in an empty hole. Emptiness? Yes, and that is another name for nothingness. So it was that men of old called it chaos, which means a gap. If you could get outside the world, which is made up of all the things there are, you would find yourself in chaos. Now earth is alive, and of all else that lives, she is the mother. For earth thinks, even as you and I think, only in a much more wonderful way. Her thoughts are not just thoughts, they are real things. First of all, because she wanted a roof over her to shut out chaos, she thought of a great dome of sapphire. And there was the sky, that glorious being whose myriad eyes are the stars. Then she thought of a circle of silver for the lower edge of the sky to rest on. And there was the round ocean that girdles her about. All the lovely and all the terrible things in this world around us are the thoughts of earth, from the snowy peaks of mighty hills to the tiniest flowers in the crannies of their rocks, from the sun in heaven to the skylark that mounts singing in his rays, from the eagle and the tiger to the dove and the lamb. But at first, earth would not bring to birth the thoughts that were struggling within her, because the sky would lean ever and anon upon her bosom, that she might slumber there, and his weight stifled each newborn thing. Then she thought of mighty sons who would rid their mother of that vast oppressor, and there came forth from her the giant brethren called the Titans. But though they were huge as mountains, they could not push back the sky when he lowered himself upon them, and they hid from him in earth's underground caves. Now the youngest Titan, whose name was Kronos, was the least in stature and in strength, but he was wise and cunning above the rest. He said to Earth, "Mother, we cannot lift up the sky, but have you never a weapon to give me that I may pierce him through while he lies sleeping?" "Son," said Earth, "what would you do? But think you that if you slay him, the dead sky will cover us forever, like a stone laid upon a grave which none can roll away?" "I am not minded to slay him," said Kronos, "but had I some sharp thing in my hand, I would so use it that in pain and fear he should rise up to his own place and there abide." Then Earth gave her son a curved flint, keen as a razor's edge, and when next the sky descended upon her, Kronos thrust it forth into the darkness that brooded above the cavern where he hid. A great shudder of anguish shook the sky as the sharp stone pierced his azure substance, and his 1,000 eyes unclosed, flashing blood-red light. Trembling, he rose up from earth's broad bosom, and nevermore forsook his post on high. Age after age he keeps silent watch there, and countless generations of men have beheld those bright, patient eyes of his, gazing down all night long on the green lap of earth, where he fain would rest once more. But when earth was freed from the sky's embrace, and ample room was hers again, she sent forth the sun to rule the day, and the moon to rule the night, and the mountains and valleys appeared, and the seas and lakes and rivers, and every tree and plant that grows, and all the tribes of beasts and birds and fishes. And Kronos was lord of this new world, for his brethren feared him and did him reverence when they saw he had vanquished the sky. So he set his throne upon the blue vault of heaven and reigned over all. Beside the Titans, he had for vassals all those powers unseen, which are everywhere around us, children and ministers of earth. From that light-giving god, Helios by name, who guides the flaming chariot of the sun and the mighty spirit of ocean, to the gentle nymphs of the crystal springs and prattling mountain brooks. He had dominion also over the winds, the bringers of rain and hail and tempest, and suffered them not to visit land or sea with violence. And he shut fast the treasuries of the snow in the utmost north. Thus it was that in his reign earth knew not storm or cold, and her flowers bloomed all the year, nurtured by the sun and showers of a perpetual spring. Then, too, the beasts of field and forest were at peace with one another, and kind preyed not upon kind. The lion grazed beside the lamb, and the serpent was harmless as the dove. This was that happy golden age of which the poets sing. Into such a world came the latest born of earth's children, even man. Yes, gods and men are of one race, sprung from one mother, though the ways appointed them to walk in be as far asunder as the east is from the west. And the first men, the men of the golden age, were like in strength and beauty to their divine kindred. They knew not sickness, pain, or sorrow, but dwelt at ease, reaping without labor the fruits that earth brought forth for them abundantly. Innocent and pure in heart, they lifted up pious hands in praise and prayer to the gods, and there was among them no need of king or lawgiver or warrior, for they lived as one family, knowing naught of envy and strife. Immortal they were not, but their serene life was prolonged 1,000 years in perfect vigor, and when it ended, they fell peacefully asleep. After their death, it was granted them to become guardian spirits in middle air, and these are they who evermore keep watch over the righteous. Now, of this blessed race, none were women, so they left no children to come after them. Kronos had been well pleased with the sinless folk, and he bade earth bring forth a second race like unto the first, who should likewise tend the fair garden of the world, and offer the fruits thereof upon his altars. But earth answered and said, Son, that may not be. There is a law which all things living must obey, and myself also, and by that law whatsoever has life must grow up to its appointed prime, but after that must wither and decay. The 1,000 years you have reigned have been the bloom time of the world. Henceforward shall begin a change, and all things alter for the worse. So must it be with the generations of men. Each will be weaker, more evil, and more short-lived than the last, and better were it that no more of them should see the light. Ask me not to bring forth a second race, for they will be far unlike the first, because the golden age is even now passing, and the age of silver is at hand. Nevertheless, Kronos did not heed the words of his mother, but importuned her until she was weary of his asking, and brought forth a second race. Now they came forth from the ground as little children, like the first race, and seemed no less fair and strong. But behold, they were so slow of growth that they remained children for 100 years. Meantime, all things were as they had been from the beginning. And when Kronos saw that the children were lusty and beautiful, and played happily together in the garden of the world, he laughed in his heart, and said to himself, Surely my mother deceived me, and there shall no change befall my kingdom. The second race will be even better than the first, for their lives will be 10 times longer, seeing their childhood lasts 100 years. Moreover, the sight of them put it into his mind to desire children of his own. So he said to Earth, Mother, you have never rewarded me with a gift for delivering you from the sky, your oppressor. Is it not enough, answered Earth, that you are become king over him and over all the world? Nay, said Kronos, that I did by my own strength. But I would have a free gift of you to boot, in token that you are not unmindful of your son's good service. "I will give you what you will," said his mother. Straightway Cronus asked her to bring forth a wife for him, that he might have children of his own to delight his heart. Then Earth, because she had promised, granted him that boon, but she prophesied to him, bidding him beware of his children, for one of them should drive him from his heavenly throne and rule the world in his stead. When Cronus heard this, he was troubled. Nevertheless, he took the wife Earth gave him, who, for beauty and majesty, appeared meet to be his queen, having devised in his crafty mind a way to defeat that prophecy. But his wife, whose name was Rhea, had heard the words of Earth, and her mother-love made her more cunning than he. She guessed what he would do, and as soon as her first babe was born, she hid it and put a stone wrapped in swaddling clothes into its cradle. Cronus knew that his children would be immortal like himself. Therefore he sought not to slay the babe, but coming secretly to the cradle, he took it, as he thought, and cast it into a pit of darkness under the earth, where it should be prisoned eternally. Then the wise Rhea came to him, making great lamentation, because the babe was gone from the cradle, and he smiled grimly, but answered her never a word. Thus she deceived him, and not once only, for she had 3 sons and 3 daughters, and she saved them all after this manner, hiding them from him in mountain caves and in thick shades of untrodden woods. In the meanwhile, the 100 years of the childhood of the second race, the men of the Silver Age, passed by. So soon as they were come to manhood, Earth's warning began to be fulfilled. Beautiful they were to look upon, and their strength was as the strength of giants, but in all else they were as different from the first race as darkness from light. For they were proud, lawless, treacherous, covetous, delighting in violence, full of envy, malice, and guile. Each did that which was right in his own eyes, without fear of the gods, or regard for his fellows, and whoso was stronger among them oppressed the weaker, taking by force whatsoever he desired. Thus they lived in perpetual strife, and though they were men, they were in their wrath even as wicked children, carried away by blind rage at every thwarting of their will, so that they would fall on one another with teeth and nails, and with such weapons as they had, which were clubs and jagged stones. Nor was it long before earth was stained for the first time with man's blood, for this evil race thought it as light a thing to take a brother's life as cruel boys think it to kill a sparrow. But the blood they shed cried against them from the ground. The sun god turned his chariot aside from his appointed path, that he might not look upon it, and earth herself quaked and sickened at the touch of it. From the hour of the first murder, change and decay began to sweep over the world. Its everlasting summer now waned into autumn. Autumn passed all too quickly. Soon men, beasts, and birds, for the first time, felt the icy grip of winter and the gnawing of hunger as their food of fruits and herbage failed them. Then it was that the lion took on fierceness and the fox cunning, and beasts began to make prey of each other. Then from the blood-polluted earth arose pestilential fogs, laden with the seeds of all diseases that plague men and cattle, all blights and mildews that lay waste the fruitful fields. Cronus looked down from the sky, and behold, the world, his pleasant garden, was become a gloomy wilderness, and his anger was kindled against the men of the second race, for he said, "Because they have despised my altars, and the altars of my mother, and have defiled them with blood of the slain, she is mourning, sick at heart, and all things mourn with her." And he cried to earth to open and swallow up that race of sinners. But she was sleeping for sorrow, and heard him not. Then he opened the doors of the treasury of the snow, high up in the northern sky, where the pole star is set for a lamp above the portal, and the white whirling flakes fell ever thicker and faster until they shrouded the sleeping earth, as it were, with a gleaming pall. "A silver winding sheet," said Cronus, "for this race that is named of silver, though in truth they are dross of the vilest." A winding sheet it proved to them indeed, who were born and bred in a sunny clime, and knew not the use of fire, nor clothing, nor any of the arts by which men make shift to live in colder regions. Too bemused with cold and fear to seek shelter, they stared dumbly at the white feathers falling out of a livid sky, drifting softly over and around them, and in that stupor their dark souls passed, not into air, but to shades of underground. So perished the second race, but when Cronus would have bound their spirits with fiery chains in the underworld, Earth withstood him, saying, "These knew not the evil that they did, being without law or teachers. Torment them not, but let such punishment await the races yet to come, the men of bronze and of iron, whose crimes will be done against law and against knowledge of the right." So he let them alone, to dwell among the nether powers of earth, and in the aftertime they became avenging spirits, issuing forth by night to haunt the evildoer and the shedder of blood. But for a long while there were no men in the land of the living, and many tribes of beasts perished likewise in the great snowstorm of Cronus, whose huge bones are seen unto this day in caverns where they betook themselves for refuge. Slowly, very slowly, Earth roused herself from her sleep of grief and shook off the pall of snow and ice, so slowly in truth that it clings to her still in the uttermost solitudes of the north, where the wondering traveler may yet behold the winter of the Silver Age. At last spring came upon the world, not brief as ours, yet soon to pass, for the march of the 4 seasons was begun, and only in a few favored lands could summer henceforth reign perpetual, as in the Golden Age. Once more earth clothed herself with verdure, and 1,000 flowers peeped forth from their long slumber in her bosom. Once more beast and bird were gladdened by the sun. Would you know why all living creatures did not perish of cold and hunger when Cronus buried the world in snow? It was because Rhea had compassion on them and opened to them those secret places of the hills in which she had hidden her children. There, in pillared caverns winding far underground, where sunless rivers ran, and roofs of spar threw back the weird lustre that springs from earth's central fires, the goddess-mother fed the wild things with her children's food, even that heavenly bread which immortals name ambrosia. For every night while Cronus slept, she visited her babes by stealth, bringing them ambrosia in a covered basket of golden wickerwork, which Earth gave her for a marriage gift, and the virtue of the basket was that it never grew empty. So long as the creatures ate the food of the gods, they could ail nothing, nor grow old, and by the gentle majesty of Rhea, the shyest and the fiercest alike were tamed, and became her babies' playmates. But when she saw that the world was beginning anew, and how fair the woods and pastures lay in the sunlight, she sent them all forth, that they might live at liberty after their kind, all save 2 lions, who would not leave her, and these ever after have drawn the chariot wherein she rides by night upon the mountains. After all these things had come to pass, Cronus reigned yet a while in peace, trusting that his kingdom should endure forever, since his children were fast in prison. But for all that, he was ill at ease, for he was aware of change without and within him, and could feel that the prime of his own strength had departed with the fading of Earth's golden dawn. End of The Dawn of the World. Read by Mark Harrington, Framingham, Massachusetts.